are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside. Please stand by.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment for October 2025 of Conversations from the Darkside. I'm here along with Jack Flack, Rob Fleck O'Hara. This is Amigo Aaron, here to hold your hand as we trepidatiously walk down the path of darkness, eh, Flack?
You know, it's not just conversations about the dark side. It's from the dark side.
Yeah.
You know, we're here. Yeah.
We're in it. We live here. We need to we need to pay our light bill, frankly, if you want the truth. But that's the way it goes. We're so happy everyone's here to join us tonight. Another kind of a spooky October evening, at least here in West Virginia. I don't like it as the days draw to an end quicker than they used to, and the night comes on a lot quicker. And you're never ready for it when it happens. It's very subtle, and then right around October, it's when it springs forward. At least in this neck of the woods. Is it getting dark down your way?
No, I think they said by next week it'll start being dark by like 5:15 or 5:30 p.m. You know, so it's but the earlier it gets dark like that, I know Halloween's coming. I mean, you can't start. I'm a firm believer you can't trick or treat when the sun's out. It's got to be dark. It ruins it.
You're a bright side guy on this, and I am too. They used to try to get that Halloween during the day thing going. That's for suckers. If you go out during we never did that when I was a kid. In fact, you didn't go out until I remember my parents being like, "Don't go out yet. What are you doing?" They'd get on me. That's the way it should be. So that'd be a lot of fun. I'm anxious for trick or treat to come around, give out some candy. Hopefully, we get some kids out this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank everybody who tuned in and downloaded last week's Conversations from the Dark Side. One of our most successful episodes we ever did in terms of feedback and in terms of actual people downloading it, watching it. So we appreciate everybody. I like to see the vibe picking up, Flack, for this sort of thing. And so hopefully we've got another fun edition to present this week. We're talking about haunted houses, hotels, and hospitals. We've picked out a little bit of each. It's a little smorgasbord of hauntedness this week. Should be a lot of fun. But as we're doing every week now, we're going to start off with a little news macabre. News macabre here, Flack. And I've got some juicy news items here, and we're going to delve into them and see what you think about this wacky stuff. So, right out of the gate here, I've got the first offering here. We're going to start off. I'm going to let you handle this one, Flack, 'cause this is the one you kicked in. This is the United States listed from most haunted to least haunted. How does this work, Flack?
Well, I'll tell you, it's as scientific as it could be. This is a group of researchers who they looked at not just they looked at all those official websites where people report hauntings and seeing ghosts and things like that, but also they scanned social media where people said they had a haunted encounter. They gathered all this information, and then they didn't just list it by the number of sightings. They divided it all out by population. So they figured out the number like per capita of hauntings and haunted sightings and paranormal experiences and all that. And so based on that, they sorted all the lists. And I believe if you look up there at the map, I think the number one is New York. New York is the most haunted state. I think Texas is in the top 5. I think Louisiana is in the top 5. California is up there. So, you know, those are all places I've gone on vacation. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Also, I saw in there that I think Oklahoma, where I'm at, is like number 47th, which was very surprising because we have a lot of tribal lands and things like that that have been disturbed and built on. I don't know if you saw Poltergeist, but building things on top of cemeteries is not a good idea. So but I just thought this was really interesting that they actually took a lot of this data and sorted out. So it's a fun little link. We can add that maybe to the show notes or something like that, but you can go see how your state ranks on there. Can you see where West Virginia is on that list? I would think it'd be pretty high.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm discounting this list immediately. They've got West Virginia. West Virginia cryptodomania, weird crap. I mean, we're renowned for our goofiness. 42? Like, we're in the bottom. Like, what is that? 42?
That doesn't seem right.
That's
now, I'll tell you,
ludicrous.
Here's an amazing statistic on there. It said when they the highest state, which was New York, when they divided it out, the number or the percentage of people out of every 10,000 that had seen something was like 2,300. It's 23%, almost 25, almost 1 out of 4 people have reported seeing a ghost in New York. So I don't know if that says anything about the ghost population and the paranormal activity in Ghostbusters. I mean, because I'm thinking of Ghostbusters now, of like, all the stuff that was in New York City. Like, I don't know if that's what's going on, or maybe it may just say something about the people who live in New York. So I don't know. I mean,
I'll look at this map and look who the heavy hitters are. All the real populated states, right? California, Texas, New York. I think this is some flyover bias here, in my opinion, because something tells me that they lightly surveyed the states in between the two oceans where everybody lives. Anyone that knows anything knows your most like ghost-fearing, scared-up people are in the South, like in this area. I mean, you can make of that what you will. But I mean, I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, they got Louisiana in there, but you tell me places like you ever been to Arkansas? You've been through there. You tell me those people aren't scared? That's a scary land. Ain't nothing there, man.
Yeah, they're scared of the living there more than the dead. But I will say that I believe dead last, or one of the bottom 2 was Georgia, and I thought that can't be right, because I think there's a lot of stuff in Georgia. So now technically this isn't a list of the data that they got was from people who reported it. So it's also possible that maybe people in Atlanta are so used to it that they just don't report it anymore. Maybe West Virginia is the same way. Yeah,
you might be onto something there. And I will say, I don't know how they treat, like, for example, cryptids, which is our bread and butter here. I mean, we got plenty of. Listen, we've got the only court case in history where a ghost was on record testifying in the case. You show me any other state, there is none. So I'm just saying, we should. I think that should weigh something in this, but that's an interesting. It's good they've got Canada listed here. I'm trying to look and see what's the scariest part of Canada there, Flack? Can you see it from your vantage? Looks like looks like it might be
so,
Ontario.
I'll tell you what's funny is that the study, I think, was done by people from Canada, which is the only reason why that's on there.
Go ahead, Flack. Get yourself in hot water with the hosers.
Well, here's what I'm going to say to get me out of hot water. I'm pretty sure that the scariest place in Canada is not as scary as the least scariest place in the United States.
There you go. It says here, first place went to the Yukon with a spine-tingling 39 sightings for 10,000 people. Second was British Columbia. Pretty scary. I mean, you could think being up there in the woods and stuff, you'd probably be pretty jumpy. That's good stuff, Flacker. I like that, man. I think you're onto something there. I'll grab this next one. I thought this was interesting, Flack. This was an article I found on the Telegraph, and that's the spirit why Edwardians had to have a haunted house. So I didn't know this about in that era, but in the early 20th century, when you were trying to buy and sell homes, having a ghost live there was very beneficial to how you sold the house. For example, right now, according to the survey they quote here, 57% of Britons would live in a haunted house if the price was right. But that, they'd get a break. But in the old days, they would pay more to live in the house that's haunted, and they'd pay less if it wasn't haunted. That was the way they liked it. In fact, there are court cases. I mean, if you had a ghost that had been verified to live in your house, and you can guess how that went, the verification process. You think having a home inspector's tough? Have the ghost inspector come around. But you could not. But there are records that people have been taken to court because the ghosts weren't as prevalent as they had said. Or one case I saw, a ghost didn't haunt the house; he haunted like the well or something, and that wasn't good enough.
Oh.
That was under the premise of buying the house with a ghost in it. That's where they paid the big money.
So having a ghost is that that's more beneficial to the seller than the buyer? Is that right? Like it drives the price up?
Correct. It drives the price up. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting parallel to. I mean, I know people now that would like to live in a house with a ghost in it. If you're into that sort of thing. But I'd say for the most part, most people would be the exact opposite of that. Like, where do you fall in that? Would you pay more if there was a bona fide bunch of ghost sightings in a house you were interested in?
I definitely, if I was talking to a realtor and the realtor told me this is a nice house, and I went, yeah. And she said, there's a nice property. The neighbors are nice. And I went, yeah. And she goes, by the way, little haunted. I'm looking for a discount. To me, that's not the price going up. That's the price going down. Yeah, so I'm not going to pay extra for that because, think of all the wear and tear on the doors that are slamming all the time. It's going to be trouble.
So one of the reasons that there were several, but amongst the reasons that the Edwardians were into this is that if you owned, in their eyes, if you owned a haunted historic property, it implied that you owned a little piece of history. And so for the up movers and shakers and the well-to-do, this is a little bragging right that you had a place that was so important that a ghost had deemed to live there. So if you think about it, that's an interesting angle for that sort of thing. I kind of like that because I'm kind of like in the middle. Like, I don't necessarily want to live in a haunted house. But I mean, if I could make a buck or something, or if the ghost was particularly renowned, maybe, like it's one thing if you've got a ghost that starts the blender at 3 a.m., you know what I mean? But I mean, if you've got a full body apparition that comes down the stairs in a 90, I'm in. That's the way I look at it.
I definitely would tell you this. So I understand the prestigious angle that they're going for. 100%, if I get a house and it is certified haunted like that, that is going in my email signature. Every email I put up, like, owner of a haunted house.
Owner of a haunted house. I like it.
I'm milking business cards, everything. It's going all over.
Let's keep the ball rolling down this line of thought because our next article here, the infamous haunted mansion in Massachusetts sells for $1 million despite warnings about dangerous entities. You looked into this one?
Sure, yeah. It's crazy to me that, well, first of all, they said, so this is the opposite of the UK, right? Like they said for a long time they could not sell this house, that the price had gone down, right?
Yeah.
And then the investors who bought it, they're really downplaying the angle that the ghosts are in there. So, it feels like the opposite of the other story you were just telling.
It's this mansion that's in question, by the way, a huge Victorian mansion that boasts 10 bedrooms and took 100 men a year and a half to build. 100 men back in those days, that's a whole different kettle of fish, because that doesn't sound too bad to me, by the way. 100 men, a year and a half to a mansion of this size. The guest list at this house, listen to this. This is an odd selection of guests. All right. President Calvin Coolidge, right? Sure. Minnesota Fats, the famous pool player, if you remember him.
Right.
Betty Davis, P.T. Barnum, and Norman Rockwell. They all play. They all hang out at this house. That's an eclectic blend.
For $1 million, all their ghosts will also be there.
If every one of their ghosts came with the house, I'm in. I mean, I'd like to see what a conversation between Minnesota Fats and Norman Rockwell would be like. I think, or P.T. Barnum and Betty Davis. Like, what is that? What's happening in that conversation? It's a cool looking place, though, isn't it, Flacker?
Well, I was just thinking about this because in some of the other stories that you posted and some of the other things that we'll be looking at tonight, they all include a picture. And every time there's an article that says this house is haunted and they show the picture, I go, I agree. That looks like a haunted place to me. Like they never show like a nice condo with palm trees, you know, in a little like beach area in the back, and they go, "This is the world's most haunted beach shanty." Like you never see that. Like they're all these Victorian houses with the towers, and they're all dark, and I mean pictures are never taken at noon. I mean, look at the background in there. They're like those houses live eternally on cloudy days.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You're not wrong. I often think about that. Is every house that looks creepy is that they're not all haunted. They can't be, right? But this house, sometimes you get the hot double. A creepy looking house with a creepy history. So get this. They built the house, right? Bam. Weeks later, the owner's wife dies of a bacterial illness, right? Months later, second wife had 2 more children, and then his second spouse died, right? Then there was a bitter inheritance battle with the kids. You know how the kids are always, they got their grubby hands on your wad, man. They won't get out of there. Then they said, according to the attraction website, it says here, the home became a hive of unsavory activity, including drinking, gambling, and prostitution. And a prostitute was strangled up in that thing in the infamous Red Room. Don't have a red bedroom in your house unless you want trouble. Am I wrong here?
Well, that explains why Norman Rockwell was there.
That's what he was. He took hookers up to the Red Room. You can direct all your lawsuits to Flack. I can get this.
Davis.
A Finnish immigrant named Eno Sari. So he's sleeping in the house. It's all good to go. Bam. Burned to death in the master's bedroom in 1963. So you can see how a place like this would be haunted because you've got a red room, dead hookers. You got people burning to death.
The guy that burned to death, don't they think it was spontaneous combustion? I believe that's what it says. Because they said nothing else in the room was burned. So I don't know that it's haunted, but this place seems super dangerous. I mean, you got to get people died of infections. They burned to death. They
Get this
choked.
one. There's a story of a young boy drowning in the basement. What's going on down there?
That's like Minnesota Fats left the faucet on, and now the basement's flooded.
My God.
Yeah, it just seems like a super, like I'm going to say this, although 100 people worked on it, it doesn't seem a lot of people worked on safety control. Like, I think there might just be a super dangerous house. And, you know, I was just thinking about what you said earlier. You know, there's those correlation things that they say, like, all dogs have 4 legs, but not everything with 4 legs is a dog, right? So, like, all creepy looking houses aren't necessarily haunted, but all haunted houses look creepy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, they all fall into that.
You know, just as a footnote to this story, because the whole story was it had just sold for $1 million. So they were asking 1.2 million, and they got $1 million. So, and we've just went over everything that happened in the house, all the kid in the basement, spontaneous combustion, dead hookers, whole 9 yards. And the people that bought this was a consortium of 4 people, and they have strong ties to the community. It says in quotes, and I think we know what's going to happen to this house. Popular tourist attraction. That's how they do it.
Yeah. So they were asking 1.2 million, and then when they went in there, they found all those bodies were still there. They just left them over there for 100 years. A kid in the basement. There's Betty Davis. They're all there.
They made one slight problem when they built this place with 100 men. Sure, they had the ghost confirmed, but they forgot to bring in the building inspector, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, they got God knows what they've got going on. There's a gas oven that's not working right in one bedroom, and then there's the plumbing screwed up in the basement. I don't know what's going on in there. A creepy looking home, though, for sure.
Yeah, whatever they saved on the budget, they're going to spend on caution tape.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? So, this next one we've got to talk about here. Now, this, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this one. This is from the Science Alert webpage. And I saw this pop up everywhere, so this was a popular choice. Haunted houses have a surprising effect on the immune system. Flack, did you look into this one?
I did, yeah. So first of all, there's I went into this. I misread the headline.
Yeah.
Because it says haunted houses are good on the immune system, but what it means is haunted house attractions not actual haunted houses like the one you were just talking about was obviously very bad for your health, right? So the real haunted houses are bad for your health, but this is talking about haunted attractions, and you can go through here and give some of the highlights. But essentially, what it's saying is jump scares are good for you. It's that adrenaline rush. So
what they did was, just to get this, Flack. So in this study that was performed, they took 22 participants with low levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, and they stuck them in a haunted house attraction for 50 minutes. During that time, they were confronted, this is from the article, they were confronted by killer clowns, decomposing zombies, and chainsaw-wielding attackers with bloody butcher aprons and pig masks. 3 days later, researchers from Denmark found the inflammation levels in more than 80% of the group had dropped, and in nearly half of the participants, levels had normalized entirely. So what the gimmick is here, they think there's a correlation between getting the crap scared out of you and your inflammatory going down. Are you buying this, Flack?
So, I mean, the numbers can't lie. The numbers have to, I mean, if that works, it works. But so here's my business model that I've been thinking about. Okay. We all know Halloween, October, this is the month for haunted houses. Everybody, they're already all over my town. There's a haunted forest. There's a haunted maze. Those people set up. But those people don't have jobs the other 11 months out of the year. But now we're going to send them to hospitals. I mean, you got sick people there, right? They got bad immune systems. They got whatever. Think of this, an old lady. She's laying in ECU. She's not doing good. You know what that lady needs? Killer clown. She needs a clown to just show up behind her and be like,
with a chainsaw.
Right, you know, guy in a pig face mask. I mean, that's like, if you're laying in a hospital, I had to one time, long time ago, I was in a hospital for a couple days, and you have no sense of time, no sense, like, people just come and go out of the room and just like, I mean, you want to get somebody healthy, get them out of that bed, you show up wearing a pig mask. You jump out and scare them. I'm just going to get them like that. So that's what I think. I think all these people that do haunted houses and stuff like that, they've got a second calling. The other 11 months out of the year, that's what they should be doing, is showing up, maybe even in like, they have these things for like, hey, it's a fundraiser, fund drive for sick children or something. Killer clowns, send them in, so I'm all for it.
I was just thinking as I was reading that, because listen, I don't know what my inflammatory levels are supposed to be. Who knows? My inflammatory levels are way up when Brent's around, so maybe there's that. But I'm thinking to myself, if someone said, listen, you guys, because I've been to haunted houses, they're not my favorite thing. It makes me want to hurt people and punch them more than it does scare me.
Right.
But sometimes it scares me. And I thought to myself, if someone said, listen, Tubby, if you go into this haunted house for, 10 hours, you drop 5 pounds. Like right out, bam.
Yeah.
Would I do it? And I think this is the kind of treatment that would be fleeting. Because once the pig masked chainsaw guy comes after you, and the Freddy Krueger and all this other crap, like once you've seen that, a killer clown, the smaller, less evil killer clown that comes next isn't as scary. The Jason Voorhees that isn't as scary.
So you're saying diminishing returns on this type of therapy.
So I think you could get away with this, like maybe for a little while, but I don't see how you could get any long-lasting effects from this, because humans adapt pretty quickly. Now I suppose if they sent you to war or something, or you're perpetually struggling. But I mean, in terms of being scared. I mean, I like the idea though of sitting, like, you've got a kid that's got the mumps or chicken pox. If you could cure that with a good scare, that'd be good for a laugh. But I don't see it happening.
I've gone to haunted house things, and I'm the world's worst at those things. Like, I mean, I know it's teenagers wearing masks. I know the chainsaw doesn't have a chain on it. I mean, I went to one, instead of a chainsaw, the guy had a leaf blower. I mean, like, I've been to some pretty bad.
What was he going to do, inflate you to death?
Just like, he was like, watch out, I'm going to blow leaves on your lawn. But I mean, I'm one of those people. I mean, I scream like a little girl at everyone. Like I get scared the whole time. I'm like, I mean, like it's a guy in a monkey costume, you know. And then, I mean, literally, I'm like, there's 0% chance there's a gorilla on the loose in the middle of Oklahoma. Like that is not happening, right? But I'm terrified at those things. And then when I come out, I have never said to myself, boy, do I feel healthier. That's not the feeling I have. So again, maybe the research, maybe they're on to something here, but I'm like you. I think you can only do it so many times to the same person.
I suppose the flip side of it, though, is what's the opposite of going into the scariest place and being scared healthy? Like, because what I've done more often going to a scary place than being scared healthy is go somewhere that's not healthy and be less healthy, like a bar, for example. So maybe if you could somehow marry the two, and you could just get an even health coming out. Like, if you're hitting shots of whiskey, but occasionally a pig guy comes in with a chainsaw, because you're like, oh, and maybe you can work it into an even area there.
So it's not gonna get over until insurance starts paying for it. So when you can make a claim and you can be like, listen, you know, I've got this chronic disease, and Blue Cross Blue Shield says, well, here's the deal. We're assigning you a guy with a pig mask and a chainsaw to follow you around, and he'll give you 14 scares a week. Then I can see that. But until then, I don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah, that's one to put in the maybe pile, everybody. But I like the idea. I think we're onto something. Maybe someone can make this work somewhere down the line. And if it does, and there's some sort of weight loss element, touch me up. I'll be ready to go.
Oh, hey, okay, I got it. So you know, there's the whole angle with ambulance chasers,
right?
Yeah. You know, there's an accident, so they people chase them, you know, and the lawyers, like, they try to get money, right? Okay, you do the same thing. Like, you hear on the news, like, oh, there's this lady and she's sick or whatever. You just show up with a chainsaw, you put on a scary mask, you beat on her window, and then you leave a bill.
Yeah.
You go, you owe me $200. Here you go. I think that's the business model right there. After the show, that's what I'm going to be doing.
I like it. I think Flack's got a new money-making scheme cooked up. I like it, Flack. So, we will leave the news macabre there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dip our toe into the unholy pool that is haunted areas, and we're going to start off with a place you don't want to go to heal up. In fact, this is a place where you can start your gimmick, Flack. It's haunted hospitals. You are, of course, watching the ever-popular, ever-present Conversations from the Dark Side. We will be right back.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Dark Side.
Deep within this ancient museum of North America, amidst the whispering trees and the persistent call of the wild, there exists a legend. This is the realm of Bigfoot. In the end, Science Museum Oklahoma is a place where curiosity reigns, where the boundaries of the known are constantly pushed. It becomes a haven for one of the greatest mysteries of all. Bigfoot, the keeper of secrets, wandering ever so quietly through the corridors of human achievement. This is Camp Cryptid.
In a world where cryptids emerge from the shadows, meet Mothman and their enigmatic companion, the Flatwoods Monster. They are on a quest for sustenance and secrets. At Little General Stores, Mothman holds the power. The LG Rewards app. The cryptids have found the treasured feast. Little General Stores for snacks that are otherworldly. Find out more at lgstores.com.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Dark Side.
And we are back on Conversations from the Dark Side. Of course, this week, the topic at hand is haunted houses, hotels, and hospitals. We're going to get a little bit of each, and we're going to start off with the haunted hospitals. We both brought an entry to the table, and I'm going to turn the floor over to our good buddy Jack Flack.
All right. Well, the haunted hospital that I wanted to tell you about has a couple of different names. Today, it is known as the Glore Psychiatric Museum. It's in St. Joseph, Missouri. The guy who founded it and who first set up the displays, his last name was Glore. That's where the name comes from. But its original name, when it was first built in the late 1800s, was State Lunatic Asylum Number 2.
Yes, it's got a ring to it.
That's the name. I mean, there's no surprises what's happening if you get sit there. You're like, what's going on here? Now, they did rename it to the St. Joseph State Hospital, I guess to kind of bury the lead as to why you might be there. But yeah, you can sit to a place called the State Lunatic Asylum. And also makes you wonder, how bad is Missouri that they had a State Lunatic Asylum number 1? It was so full. That they
One would wonder how many numbers they've got. How crazy is that place?
Yeah, they had to make a second one. So this place opened in 1874, and it was open for 125, almost 130 years. It was in operation. And then in 1999, just to let you know how pleasant the accommodations are, in 1999, it was turned into a prison. And then it was a prison for a while before it was finally closed. And they've turned one of the buildings on the campus into a museum, which is now the Glore Psychiatric Museum. And I've been to this museum. So it is a historical record of people with psychiatric issues and how we have treated them throughout the years. So real quick, let me tell you some of the things that are there. There are these wheelchairs. I think you've got a picture of that up there right now. This is the wheelchairs. So these were originally donated, and apparently people that were having these psychotic episodes, rocking in wheelchairs is kind of a calming motion for them. But you'll notice, like as we did walking through the hallway, that many of them just have restraints on them as well. So people were put in these wheelchairs and then bound to them. Now those were eventually replaced by all metal wheelchairs, which you can also see on display there. And the reason they said these metal or not wheelchairs, but rocking chairs. But the reason that they replaced them is they said they were, since they were all metal, they were a design where they could not tip over and they were easy to hose off. That was the selling point. On them. So,
just to jump in there, I work in the prison system, Flag. And so this same philosophy has carried over, because we've got restraint chairs in a lot of the places I go. Pretty much every prison's got one where they restrain a sucker in. They can't tip them over. Now, they don't let these guys rock. They don't move at all. And occasionally, if the prisoner's been particularly ornery, he'll have the spit bag tied over his head, added bonus.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some guys while they were in this thing, and they were calm as anything. I don't know what they did before I got there, but they were doing something, so I can understand.
I think I'll take the fire out of here real quick.
Yeah.
So some of the other treatments that were done at this place included hydrotherapy, to hydro meaning water. And so one of the theories was, again, we're talking all the way back to the late 1800s, right? So science had not come as far as it has today. But their theory was, if you have mental illness, a good thing to do is put you in a cold tub of water all day, or put you in a cold shower all day. And that, So as you tour the area, you can see these showers and these tubs. One of the most, well, it's hard to say most disturbing things that you see there, but there's an entire room dedicated to lobotomies. And so one of the issues that this place had was within not very long, within 10 years of it being open, it was at 10 times the intended capacity. It was overflowing with people because, as you alluded to earlier in the show, it was pretty easy back then to get someone sent to what they called a lunatic asylum, right? It could be if like there were people in here that they said, well, this woman kept throwing a fit every time her wife cheated on her, and so she must be crazy. They threw her in here. I mean, just literally just people that they wanted to get rid of, or you know. But don't get me wrong, a lot of the people here had serious mental illness. But so one of the ways that they decided that was easy to control people was to give them lobotomies. And of course, in the earliest lobotomies involved drilling a hole through the skull and going in and performing a lobotomy. But eventually the orbital method was invented, which was where they would literally take an ice pick or something like an ice pick, go in through the eye socket, and then do this real unscientifically and separate, you know, the hemispheres of the brain. Over 200 lobotomies were performed just at this place. And they did it because it was that style was so fast. And they said they didn't even have to sedate people. They just took them over to the electroshock area, which is another thing you get to see that's on display. And they would shock these people until they knocked them out, and then they would give them a lobotomy. So, I mean, a real pleasant place to go on vacation, you know. One thing I do want to mention is, and I found this to be actually the most disturbing thing that was there, is that they, all the inmates were encouraged to create art and do things, and they have a lot of that art on display. So there are some paintings, there are some writings, there are things like that, but there are also some things that are on display that were done by people that were not of sound mind. And one of the displays is a television, which they have on display, and the whole tube now is filled with little notes. But the story behind that is they found an inmate that they caught him slipping notes inside a television, and they didn't know why. And so the staff came and took the television. When they opened it, they found over 500 notes that had been stuffed inside this television. They were all handwritten notes that he would write on any piece of paper he could find. He'd rip them out of a book or a pamphlet, anything he found. And he was writing these notes saying, the people here are holding me against my will. They're taking my money. They're doing all these things. And then, of course, the staff said, he doesn't have any money. He doesn't have it. So it's delusions.
They took it all.
Right. Well, so his idea was if he put these notes in the TV, they would get transmitted out to the TV people and someone would hear him. So it's those kind of things that are just kind of real disturbing. So let's talk about how this fits into Conversations from the Dark Side. First of all, there's an area, on the third floor that I believe is now moved down. But this place had not only a morgue, but it also had its own autopsy room. So they would perform autopsies in this facility. And they also had a morgue, which has way more storage for bodies than you would think would need to be. I mean, like a dozen, like the big, the TV kind of freezer kind of things, right? And that leads down to the tunnels. And so when you go to the tunnels, it turns out a lot of these buildings are connected, and the people that were kind of disturbed, that wanted to do artwork, they would turn them loose down in the tunnels and let them paint or draw or do whatever they wanted on the walls of the tunnels. All that artwork is still there. And so you're looking at art that's created by fairly disturbed individuals. So, unsurprisingly, this place is haunted. And they point back to 130 plus years of very tragic treatment of patients, very inhumane, and some of it was because people didn't know better, and some of it was because they could abuse people and they wouldn't get caught, right? So you could be mean to people, and if their only recourse is writing a note and putting it in a television for the TV people to find out, then you could probably do that. So unsurprisingly, there have been a ton of records of paranormal activity in this place. doors opening and closing, cold areas, weird drafts in different places, and a lot of it seems to happen not just surrounded. There's a lot of it that's surrounded by the morgue and the autopsy room and those areas, but also in those tunnels where a lot of people, a lot of these people spent a lot of their time down in the dark. Now, like a lot of the places I suspect we're going to be talking about today, this place has capitalized a little bit on this, and they do have ghost hunts and paranormal, like overnight investigations and things like that. So you can go there and they will lock you into this place. I believe the lock-in starts like at 7 p.m. and goes until 7 a.m. But one thing they do tell you about the lock-ins is that at bedtime or in the evening, like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. or whatever, it's lights out. And so the only light you will have accessible to you is whatever light you bring. So if that's your phone, that's a flashlight, whatever. And that's when they go and start investigating the morgue. That's when they go down in the tunnels. They go through all those places with no lights. So I think the pictures that you're showing right now that you're scrolling through, those are pictures that I took while on visiting the Glore Psychiatric Museum. Like I said, there's a lot of kind of disturbing things there. There's a display. I don't know if I have a picture of it. There's a display, a glass display that has several hundred, like 450 pieces of metal. And all of those pieces of metal were retrieved from one patient's stomach. So he said that he thought that he could keep voices away and things by consuming metal. And so he swallowed nails, he swallowed safety pins, he swallowed anything he could get his hands on. And then they would do surgery or whatever and take him out every now and then. So this is one of those places that definitely was tragic when people were there and they were alive, right? And so you have to think about when you start talking about places that you think that, people say may be haunted. By the way, if you look up like every major ghost hunting television show, every major paranormal investigation show, they've all been to this place. Every one of them has an episode about this place. So it's definitely a well-known destination for paranormal hunters and things like that. And I think if you go there looking for that stuff, most people don't leave disappointed. So again, very tragic place when people were there and were alive, and now that it's a museum and that it seems to have taken on a second life today.
It's funny how I'm going to be talking about a sort of a similar place, but there are some of these things. There are little overlaps. You're talking about the death tunnel in that place. If you've ever heard of a place called Waverly Sanatorium, it's in Louisville. It's a very, very famous. It's a very, very famous place. Just sort of like, like you said, these places all tend to have the same sorts of things. Once they get famous, you get the ghost hunters in, you do all that stuff. I was just talking to Teresa earlier, and she was saying that it was real steep, and that they would just chuck these bodies and they would get down the hill. I'm guessing it was something similar at the place you were at. How deep into this place did you get? You've been in here. You took the pictures. Did you go well in? Did you go all the way through it? Did you spend the night? What was your exposure?
No. So the thing was that we had found out about it on a road trip. We were on a road trip, and it's St. Joseph is located between where I'm at and where did we go? Kansas City, Missouri, I think is where we went. So it was like in between the two places. So we had found it. We stopped by there. And when we were there were literally flyers that said, we're doing a lock-in tonight. But so we could have stayed and done the extra thing. Now, this is like a whole campus, imagine like a prison with multiple buildings around and everything. But the museum is all located just in one building. So that's where our time was concentrated. And it's, I think 6 floors or something like that. Maybe not, no, 3 floors and then the basement. So, and each floor, like there's one floor dedicated to, the history, like the medical history, and there's one dedicated to the artwork that the people that were there created. And this whole museum started because it was like a medical, like one of those medical display weeks. and that the guy, Dr. Glore, he created, and these are there too, I didn't mention this, but he created these full-size dioramas. And so they have, like, there's a room, like where you're, like a safe room, where you would lock, like a padded room that you've seen in the movies. Like there's one there, and the door's shut, and there's a gate. But inside there is a mannequin. So when you look inside there, it looks like there's someone sitting inside that room, right? And they have things from like the water treatments and things like that. But they have all those things set up with mannequins. They have a mannequin set up in the room where they had the shock therapy stuff. And that's, of course, one of the things that people have reported, that seeing the mannequins seem to move or breathe or things like that. So this is almost one of those places, I hate to say it, but like in real life is almost scarier to me than the haunted story,
Yeah. Do you think you could see yourself spending the night there one of these days?
Not as a patient, I would hope. But
have you seen your recent work? You can drive the van there and just permanently park it.
Just camp out. I would do it, but I think that the tone of a place like this would be different for me, because when you talk about a haunted house, let's say like I've stayed at we're going to talk about some places that are either like, bed and breakfast or a haunted house or things like that you tour. And even though there was some sort of tragic events or something like that, it doesn't seem to have the grave implications that this place did. So I would do it, but it almost feels a little, the hospital one feels like it's exploiting him just a little bit to me.
Well, I can understand that. It's funny. Your place dovetails nicely into mine. We were clearly walking down the same path on this. I wanted to pick some place I'd been
both
as well.
in straitjacket.
Yeah, no kidding. We were skipping down the path like two insane people. So, I'm looking at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Before we get into it, though, and this fits perfectly with what Flack was just talking about. The last time I was up at the Trans-Allegheny, they were selling these shirts, okay? And the shirt is reasons for admission into the asylum. Okay, these were reasons. I'm going to read off these reasons, and there are many. So
these are real.
These are real. These are from 1864 to 1889. These are the reasons you could be stuck in the detention now, or into the Trans-Allegheny. Intemperance and business trouble, kicked in the head by a horse, hereditary predisposition, ill treatment by husband, imaginary female trouble. That's a weird one. Hysteria, immortal life, imprisonment, jealousy and religion, laziness, marriage of a son. I'm going to skip a couple of these because they're too dirty.
Marriage of a son? What does that mean?
Medicine to present. If you used medicine to prevent contraception, menstrual derangement, mental excitement, novel reading, nymphomania, opium habit, overaction of the mind, overstudy of religion, overtaking or overtaxing mental powers. I'm reading these verbatim, by the way. Okay, I just want to make sure you know that. Parents that were cousins is written on here. I swear to God. Periodic fits, tobacco, and masturbation. I don't know how those two run together, but apparently they do. Political excitement, politics. So politics can be reason for admission. Finally, what I agree with. Religious enthusiasm, fever and loss of lawsuit, fits of desertion of husband, asthma, bad company, bad habits, bad whiskey, bloody flux, brain fever, business nerves, carbonic acid gas, congestion of the brain, death of sons in war, decoyed into the army, deranged masturbation, and desertion by husband. That's exactly one half of the list. Okay? I'm going to stop right there. That's one half of the list. And the list just is as goofy on the second half as it was for the first half. And like my personal favorite, snuff eating for 2 years. 1 year, not enough to get you put in. But if you've been eating snuff for 2 years, you could go into the Trans-Allegheny.
So I was keeping I believe at least 18 of those apply to me.
Listen, I don't want to know
And
which
then there was a
ones.
fourth that definitely did not. Like, I've never been attacked by a deranged husband. I mean, so like those are off the list. So there were like 4 definite no's and at least 18 definite positives. So, and I mean, I like so many of them could combine into different things. You know what I mean? Like maybe if you have 2 at the same time, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. These are crazy. But one of the things I learned from being there and talking to the people that work there, if you were a woman between 1864 and 1889, and your husband was like, "Man, I'm sick of this bride," one of the things
Right.
you could do is commit her, marriage off, and you're scot free. You're out of
right.
it.
Well, yeah. You take them in and you know, you're like, you go, it's not working out. I go, oh, well, welcome to the lunatic asylum. What's the problem? And you go, asthma.
Yeah, yeah. No
Go,
kidding.
what? Bring out the wheelchair and get her in.
I mean, just looking at these, fell from horse in
Right.
war, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
Fighting fire. Like, I don't want. I guess you thought fire went nuts. Who knows? What gets you in there? But that's all you need to get stuck into the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which is in Weston, West Virginia, which is about. You were at our house on the river. If you keep going up the road there, you probably came real close. Did you stop by Weston on your way through? I can't remember.
I mean, the best I'm finding to avoid these places is probably a better plan because, like I said, I mean, you go by there and they're like, "Hey, do you watch politics? You better run." They got beds to fill there.
Yeah, yeah. So the lunatic asylum opened for patients starting in 1858, but it wasn't. Or excuse me, that's not true. Construction started in 1858. It started opening up to patients in 1864, and this place was open in some capacity until May of 1994. So quite a
Gosh,
long
yeah.
run.
Yeah.
The campus, the Trans-Allegheny, is massive. It's a massive campus right in downtown Weston, and it is a unique area because there are residences around. You're right downtown. There's a river that runs in front of it, so you have to sort of go over a bridge to get to it. It's a beautiful building. It was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1990. So the funny thing about it, this wasn't always the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, because when the construction of this thing was going on, when it started, this area was in Virginia. There was no West Virginia. So at the beginning of the construction of the Trans-Allegheny, it was part of Virginia. And then right in the middle of construction, a war broke out. It's called the American Civil War, 1861. And so if you know anything about history, West Virginia went away from Virginia to do its own thing. And so we just happened to get hold of this asylum. And so if you visit there's a point in the asylum where you could tell where the construction changed. And there are places on it with like the Virginia State Flower and stuff. You know, it's because it was actually part of Virginia proper. The place is sort of self-sustaining. It's had gardens over the years. It's got its own gas well, and it's a series of buildings. The main building, if you're watching at home, what you're seeing here is this is the main building of the Trans-Allegheny, and you can see it's expansive. And then I'm going to point out in the back here. So, like, if in the very back here was a place. In fact, actually, I think it's to the side. There's a place devoted to surgery. So it was an area. It was a huge building that's just surgery. This was mostly rooms. There were medical areas here, but it was mostly just rooms. And it's also, you can see there. It's like, I think it's like with the basement. I think it's like 4 or 5 stories in some areas. It's pretty huge. It's a pretty large facility. And thankfully I've been here, so I can talk about a little bit of this stuff just from my own memory. It's 26.5 acres over the sprawling area. Now, the one thing I wanted to get into before I got into the truly scary stuff about the Trans-Allegheny is, you know, you talked about a lot of the stuff that happened in the era of medical treatment for mental issues. and it was, I mean, by today's standards, pretty archaic and old school. You know, the stuff like, you know, screwing with somebody's brain or electric shocks or stuff like that. But one of the things they tried to do at this hospital was actually treat the patients, like for real. They actually tried to, I mean, they did all the stuff that we just talked about, but they actually tried to do something with the patients. They had nice rooms and pianos, and they encouraged the patients to go out and talk and go around. And a lot of the areas were open. You could go out, and it was nice. One of the things they've done in modern times, in the lobby and in the areas where you first come in, and the parts of the first floor, is they've recreated them as they were when it first was built, and it's beautiful. It's got beautiful like pastel colors. It's nice. It's fresh. You know, there's wood everywhere. And the staircase, everything. It's real ornate. You know, so it's a nice place to be. It's not a death hole, as a lot of these places. So I mean, they weren't all death holes, I guess. But of course, this wouldn't be a show about a scary nut house if it wasn't for the fact that they did some crap wrong, because they did. There was a lot of stuff that went wrong, and tons of people had met gruesome ends here. I'm quoting from history, Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. It's definitely a webpage you should check out, because trust me, I was there. We've researched the heck out of this place. But just to name a few things that happened there, so there's one of the big legends of this place is the legend of Lily, who was a little girl that she'll make herself known to the members of the hospital by running around acting crazy. And they leave a ball down where she was most sighted, and you can kind of roll the ball around and see if she'll whack it back at you. There were all sorts of suicides in this place. You can imagine people hung themselves with their sheets. People had all sorts of so there was something that had, you know, there was more than enough of those. But there were also people that were just straight up killed in the hospital. In 1877, a fellow was beaten to death with a bed slat. You know, not good. Well, I mean, that's what happens.
Good night.
You know, yeah. That's horrible. That's horrible.
Sorry.
That's horrible. So sometimes the inmates would beat each other. You know, just, you know, they would, because they were crazy. One man beat a woman to death in 1881 because he thought, you know, she was a demon or something. So he killed her just because he could. In 1904, the guy that ran who was the superintendent of the hospital, his son killed himself in the hospital. Another suicide in 1898. A guy wrapped a towel around his neck and hung himself from a towel rack in the toilet in Ward 8. You can see the trend here, and you see that it happens. I'm looking at the dates. It runs all the way up into 1987. 2 inmates were accused of killing a deaf mute in a brutal way after hanging him several times with a bedsheet from a pipe in their room. They positioned his legs, the legs of a metal bed frame over his head, and they jumped on the bed. And I was in this room, by the way. And so basically, they mushed his head with a bed. You know, that's a Dr. Seuss rhyme you don't ever want to hear when that happens. You know, this place has a lot of history in it. Some good, some bad. I can tell you from my firsthand experience, having been in the place, once you leave the beautiful redone areas of the hospital, it's as dreary, depressing, and scary as any other crazy mental hospital you've ever seen. We spent the night there on one of the overnight stays, and it was I was pretty cool with it. There was a lot of stairs. I could, you know, so thank God I was being scared a lot, so my health was better that night. But I went up and down these stairs, and you would have, I think we went in a group of like 20 people, and we would go by floor. We would each like, there'd be like 10, 50 people a floor. You would never see another person. It was so vast.
Wow.
There are halls in this place so long that it seems like forever. And at the very end of the hall, there'll be like a window, and you'll see one beam of light. And what that does is it shines it down the hall, and you can see things moving in and out of that light. You know, so what are they? Is it dust? Is it bugs? Is it, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I mean, you see it. I see it. I saw it myself I felt okay until we went into the ward. There's a juvenile ward for mentally deranged, violent mental deranged, adolescents, like teenagers. We went in there about 2 or 3 in the morning, and that was one of those places I've been where there was an incredible heaviness to it, and it was unsettling to the point where we left. We left the hospital, went home.
Really?
We couldn't handle it. It was upsetting. It's one of the few places I've ever been where I felt really unsettled. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that happen in any place you've been where something just didn't feel correct?
Well, that Glore Psychiatric Museum, what hit me was when you finally get to a point, like there were points at that in the museum, like where those wheelchairs were or rocking chairs. There's pictures of people sitting in those chairs in that hallway, and now I'm standing in the same hallway, and those are the same chairs, and so you were there where those people were, and that's where it really hit. That's where you get that feeling where you're not in you're not on a movie set, you're not on, or you're not seeing something that took place somewhere else. Like you're standing on the same ground where those people were, and that kind of got to me a little bit.
I agree. There's something to be occupying the space of someone and how it went down. Especially it makes it bad. I don't know what it's about these mental hospitals, but several of these rooms also had mannequins in them. I guess it's to demonstrate. I don't know what exactly, but there's a lot of the rooms. I mean, the whole hospital is open to you when you visit. They do have tours, of course. There's their guided tours, and they're great tours. But if you're going to come up to Weston, if you're going to take the time, you might as well spend the night, because you really can't understand the size of the place until you spend any length of time there. If you're watching at home, the picture I've drawn up here is, and I was in this room. It's a setting room, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's not like there's no one here getting tortured. They're not strapped to anything. It's just some ladies sitting around with a bunch of plants and curtains, and it's nice. They've got pianos and stuff. So I like to think to myself, as haunted as this place purportedly is, that not everyone that went through here had a bad go of it. In fact, we've talked to nurses that worked there who have mentioned that they liked working there. It was a good place to work there, and maybe their mothers and fathers worked there. So it wasn't always like a colossal death hole. But when you get this many sick people, and much like your place, this was built for, I think it was like 450 people or something. And at the by the end of the day, they'd stuffed a couple 100,000 people into this place, at peak capacity. So it was originally designed to house 250 patients in solitude. At its peak in the 1950s, they had stuffed 2,600 people into this place. So you're going to get a lot of bad vibes, a lot of bad mojo when you come into a place like this. But again, there's a lot of ghost action in here. If that's your cup of tea, if you look around on YouTube, you can find all kinds of people who have pictures of the ball moving, pictures of stuff floating in front of the window, pictures of who knows what floating in front of the camera in the room where that guy was killed with the bed. You can go way to the top of the building. It's real creepy up there, and you can sort of figure out where the guys hung themselves and whatnot. And so I'll leave it up to the listener to make your own decision if you come here. I can only tell you that in the time I stayed there, and I was just at this place 2 months ago. We stopped on our vacation. We stopped in, and it's beautiful. It was a beautiful sunny day. It's got beautiful grounds. In fact, there were professional baseball games played on the front grass of this facility in the 1800s. So, I mean, if you ponder that for a minute, they would bring in roving teams to play. So it's a weird juxtaposition between something truly heinous and something that's sort of nice, depending on your perspective. But it's not a kind of place I would want to live for any length of time, Flack, that's for sure.
I would like to point out that picture that you had up there of the sitting room where you said the women were enjoying themselves or whatever, that was taken just before they sent in the killer clowns to scare the crap out of them, and hopefully get them
scare them healthy.
Little Bad things happen everywhere. Bad things happen all the time. There are car accidents and people die from crazy reasons, right? And obviously every place where a person has died is not haunted, right? Like we don't, or every place would be haunted, But I think there's something about these things where, and again, I'm with you. Like you should go to one of these places and experience it for yourself, and make up your own decisions. But, I mean, if there's any place where bad energy is going to coagulate and linger, you got to think it's one of these places. Both of these places, over 100 years of really, really tragic stories. You know? So you never know.
I think I'm like you. If any place is going to be full of spirits, I think you nailed it. It would be a place like this. While we get full of spirits at the commercial break, we invite you to stand by. We will be back in just a few minutes for more Conversations from the Darkside as we take a sleepover in haunted hotels. Stay tuned.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside.
Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. One of the scariest locations in the world. Documented paranormal activity. Schedule your investigation now.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside.
And we are back for more Conversations to the Darkside, haunted hotels, houses, and hospitals. We just went over a couple creepy haunted hospitals. So now that we've visited our hospitals, we've got rested up, it's time for an overnight stay in the local hotel. What's on offer, Flack?
Well, so I was kind of looking at some different hotels, and I was trying to think of if there was anything that I had seen or maybe been to around the Oklahoma area. And my wife reminded me that we have actually stayed in a bed and breakfast that is it's a hotel that you could stay in overnight. And it's haunted. It's reportedly haunted.
So you stayed in this hotel overnight, is what you're telling me.
I've been to this place, yes, sir. And this place is the Stone Lion Inn in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Now, Guthrie, Oklahoma is 45 minutes north of me, and I don't know that everybody's heard of Guthrie per se.
I've heard of it, but I don't know why. Did something happen there that I would remember? The name comes to my mind.
One thing happened that it was the original capital of Oklahoma. So before Oklahoma was a state, when it was just a territory, they decided that Guthrie would be the capital of that territory. And so that happened in the 1890s, I think, 1890. And Oklahoma became a state in 1907. And when it became a state, they said, well, we already have a capital, so we'll just let Guthrie be the capital. So Guthrie was the capital for about 3 years till 1910, and then everybody got together, they did a vote, and they said, we got this other place called Oklahoma City. Maybe that should be the capital of Oklahoma. And so they moved the capital out of Guthrie and rebranded Oklahoma City as the capital. But yeah, Guthrie was the original capital of Oklahoma, and it is full of buildings from that era. From the now, when we say things are old in Oklahoma, that's different than saying things are old like on the East Coast, right? Like when they say things are old, they're talking about 1600s or 1700s, right? And in 1700s, Oklahoma was all Native American land. I mean, it was unsettled, and so old buildings here, we're talking mid to late 1800s, but Guthrie has lots of those. They have lots of old brick buildings from the 1800s or whatever. So it's actually a fun town to go visit. Like the post office and things like that are in those old buildings, and they even on Main Street they have like an old medicine shop from the early 1900s that's set up with all the medicine that they had there. Like, of course, there's the bottle of different kinds of things. There's even a bottle of opium, which is going to play back into this story here. So,
oh boy.
Yeah, so the Stone Lion Inn was originally a large Victorian house. Again, it's since been converted into a bed and breakfast, but originally it was just one of those big, giant, creepy houses that we're talking about. All these places are big, giant, creepy houses, right? Supposedly it is haunted by a little girl named Irene Houghton. Now, the Houghtons are the original owners of the house, and their daughter died of whooping cough. So whooping cough literally is a disease where you cough to death. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
On the list of things you might want to have, this is not on it. You don't want whooping cough. And so in an attempt to stop this child's cough, they gave her cough syrup. I guess that was opium based.
Yeah, because a lot of them were back then.
Yeah, well, they gave her a lot of it, and so there's contradicting reports of whether or not she died from whooping cough. She may have died from an opium overdose. So, but either way, poor Irene passed away at the age of 7 in 1907, same year that Oklahoma became a state. So the house, it's a big giant house, and it just had the parents living in there, and so it was kind of a morbid kind of place. Like it was quiet and sad and things like that, right? But eventually it was purchased, and it was turned into a hotel, an inn, and then now, like I said, it's this bed and breakfast. So here's the thing about it. People have reported lots of sightings and hearing things, and they all have to do with a young girl, like a young child, right? And so people have heard what sounds like a child's footsteps running up and down the hallways at night, but they look out and there's nothing there. So a lot of the classic things that you've heard, footsteps and doors opening and closing and things like that. But one of the creepiest things is there was a lady who stayed there and reported that she kept feeling a small child's cold hands on her, like cold hands touching her, but she didn't know about the ghost at all. She didn't know about the hauntings or anything like that. So it's strange that's like specifically that's what she reported, was feeling a cold child's hands on her. So you can I believe this place is still open. I think we stayed there probably 10-15 years ago, something like that. One of the things that they have done since we went there, I don't think they were doing it when we went there, but now what they are best known for is you can book a weekend there, and they have murder mystery weekends. Yeah. So they have all the people that go there, and they dress up in costume, and they do the whole murder mystery. But you stay there like Friday and Saturday night, like it's an entire weekend of this mystery that unfolds and stuff. I've never done one of those things, but it sounds like That part of it sounds like fun until I'm trying to solve the mystery and I feel cold, ghostly child's hands on my back. Then it's not fun. Then I'm out of the old Stone Lion Inn. So, yeah, this is one of those places where it's not a lot of ghosts. It's not a lot of history. It's not a thing. It's just, maybe one ghost that's there. But enough people have seen and heard and felt things there that it definitely has earned its reputation as being a haunted hotel.
Now, you stayed there and you had no experiences, no weird feelings, nothing spooky.
I didn't feel a child's hands. I did feel large, cold feet on my back, but those were my wife's. So,
it looks gorgeous. If I'm honest, the staircase, just that wooden staircase, just beautiful. What's it? Is it nice? Is it really super swank in there?
It is, and a lot of it is decorated. It's all time appropriate, you know what I mean? That they've really redone it, and so it feels like you're walking back into a house from the 1800s.
Yeah. Did was it super pricey? Looks like a place that cost a few bucks.
It was more than the average Airbnb, I think. It was less when we did it at the time because they weren't doing the murder mystery thing like that. I think now from that it's got a little bit more popular, and so the price has gone up like that. But I don't think it's astronomical. I think if you wanted to do it, you could do it,
I wonder if they get more people in there for the historical elements of the house or because of the ghost.
There's a lot of that in Oklahoma because, like I said, a lot of those houses were in places where whenever they came through, like the land run and all that, those houses got knocked down, got demolished. So not a lot of areas like that have been preserved. So I'm sure there's definitely like historicals. I think it is on the historical society list, that place, and there's some other places like that, but. I'm sure you can go there and just if you're into the history and that sort of stuff. But like I said, Guthrie is a great town to go to. There's we've driven there in the morning. I mean, it's a probably 35 to 40 minutes, I would say, from my house. But there's a really great little diner there, and my wife and I have driven out there, and we've woken up early and driven out there just to go to that diner. So yeah, it's a cool little town.
When you decided to go out there, it was for the ghost experience, or did you just go out there just because you'd heard about it?
I think we'd heard something that they said that it was haunted, but they weren't like really capitalizing on it at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I think a lot of these places now, it's kind of a self-feeding thing, right? Because they do that and then it gets on TV, right? I mean, No one was going on TV to go film at the Stone Lion Inn, but when they said there's a ghost there, all of a sudden you got all these TV shows that want to come do things. And of course, when a TV show comes there, it's bad TV if nothing happens, right? And so it gets on TV, and now more people want to go there. And then when more people want to go there, they can raise the price a little bit. So, of all the things I never thought about ghosts was that how financially good they could be, right?
Well, I mean, it's one would wonder. I mean, there must have been a place where it changed, but like one would wonder if there was a point where having ghosts, we've almost wound back to that very first Victorian story, where we now having the ghost at your hotel probably would net you more action than not having the ghost at your hotel.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's a strange thing. It's funny, Flack, because the place that I'm going to talk about, which is the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee, is they downplay the ghosts at all costs. They don't ever talk about it. So they've taken the different approach, but their reputation sort of, precedes them in that department. So, and this place has a bizarre... it's got a bizarre hookup to the paranormal in the first place. It's a little loose. So the Pfister Hotel, that's Pfister, Pfister Hotel, luxury hotel, downtown Milwaukee, up in Wisconsin, was owned by a fellow named Guido Pfister and his son Charles F. Pfister. Opened in 1893 for $1 million. They built this place, so it was not cheap. It's a large building. and it was designed in a Romanesque revival style, which was unusual then, and it's super unusual now. It's a 250-foot high facility. It's a multi-floor, big time. This is a AAA 4-diamond hotel, and has been that way since the inception of the ratings. This place has a spa. It's got everything you need and to have a hotel. So one might ask, how would a place like this become haunted? Right. So I mentioned that it was the guys that made it, Guido Pfister. He was a German immigrant, and so he passed away before the hotel was even finished. He left it to his son Charles, right? So nothing happened on the grounds of this hotel. Like, there was nothing that would cause this. But a local historian in Wisconsin says that when the Pfisters were living up there, that they had lived in a cabin on the site of where the hotel was, and right where the hotel was, right next to it were private burial grounds, which had been there.
Oh boy!
And so that shtick, that seems to be the reason why people think it's haunted. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this place up, it's because it's sort of funny in a weird way. This place, because there are tons and tons of eyewitness accounts as to what happened in the house, okay? And a huge chunk of them are Major League Baseball players, all right? Because this is where away teams go when they're playing the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
I've got some quotes lined up here from some of the more famous ones. This is Bryce Harper, 2015 National League MVP. When I woke up in the morning, I swear on everything, the clothes were on the floor and the table was on the opposite side of the room against the wall. I was so flustered, I honestly thought there might be someone in my room. I had no idea what the hell just happened, so I actually looked around, and then I checked to see if the door was still latched, and it was. So that's the kind of crap you get. Another fellow, Carlos Gomez, I'm scared to go in the hotel room. They should change the hotel. Everyone here doesn't like the hotel. Why do they put us in this hotel? You can't sleep. And so you see, here's another one. This is a guy from China, G-Man Choi, who mentions that he's not that scared of ghosts. He actually likes ghosts. He says, I was scared at first, so I didn't want to open my eyes. I dealt with that a lot more times after that. But he said once he laid there for a while and whispered to the ghost, he felt the spirit crawl up behind him and hug him and whisper into his other ear. But he was okay with it because they made peace with the spirit on that one. So the funny thing about this hotel is, and that one fellow said it, they have a tendency to put the visiting teams in here, and that's supposed to be part of the home field advantage. They purposely put them in this hotel so they'll have a crappy night's sleep. You can believe this. Now, the Pfister has tweeted out multiple times, and the quote is, the only thing haunting us here is the spirit of hospitality, and it's been here for 120 years. So that's the word on the street. But even as recently, I saw a quote here from Megan Thee Stallion, if you know who she is, a rap chick. Mm-hmm. She was in town, and she said that there was a ghost there. It scared the crap out of her. She's never staying there again. So, it's bizarre. And I mean, I'm looking down the list of these guys. There were probably 20 major leaguers that swear that they had a ghost experience. They're all from out of town. So it doesn't behoove them to make that crap up. And so, but to this day, Milwaukee's in the playoffs right now. So I have no doubt that right now, there are people staying in this very hotel, and we'll see if that bodes well for Milwaukee or not. I don't know. Have you ever heard of this place, Flack?
I haven't heard of that place. I know that last year we talked about some places, and I mentioned the Skirvin Plaza, which is a very similar story, and it's a hotel here in Oklahoma that is, reported to be haunted, and it's right next to where our basketball arena is, and so it's the same story. Basketball players there. Meta World Peace he did a whole thing where he left. He got up in the middle of the night. He went to some other hotel. He goes, I can't stay here. Things like that. I don't like. Here's the thing about haunted hotels. Okay.
Yeah.
If you go into a haunted house, you go to visit, you go, oh, okay, well, doors, whatever. I hear footsteps, all that stuff, right? Okay, but a hotel, like there is a thing where you are vulnerable, you are defenseless when you're sleeping, right? So if you're paranormal investigator, you're going to those psychiatric hospitals we mentioned or something, you go down in the tunnels and you feel a cold a spot or something, you go, oh, I feel something or whatever. But I don't want some dude named Guido Fister getting into my bed behind me and giving me hugs at night. I don't need that. I'm whispering Guido sweet nothings in my ear. That's not what I need, And the thing is, it's like I said, in your bed, like when you were a kid and you thought, oh, there's monsters in the closet. But in my bed, if I pull the covers up, I'm safe. If I shut the door, most kids' bedrooms don't have locks, but if you're in a hotel, your door, no one can come in, no one can get me. The door's locked and all that. But ghosts can come in, apparently. You know what I mean? So that's the thing is, I can see it being a psychological advantage when you have people from out of town, especially with old Guido on your side. Maybe Guido is a baseball fan and he's doing it for the home team advantage.
Well, clearly they weren't helping the home team for the decades and decades that the Brewers stunk. But maybe they're helping them now. It's
it might have been people are staying somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's where they moved them here.
The funny thing is, this didn't scare anybody off. I mentioned that Megan the Stallion stayed there, and that's the kind of caliber. If you're watching this video that's playing, it's a ludicrously lush and luxurious hotel, and they have a room called the Hall of Presidents. And that's because every U.S. president since William McKinley has been in that hotel at some point. So I guess that's the go-to place on your trip to Milwaukee.
Yeah, but what about Eddie Davis and Norman Rockwell?
Well, Minnesota Fats, you'd think he probably would be next state over. But you never know. But I thought that was an interesting one. And like I said, it's one of the few haunted hotels that you could actually look at and see, okay, yes, here are tangible results of the haunting. I was just reading that Brandon Phillips, who played for the Reds, had his radio turn on in the middle of the night. And they saw a full body apparition, and he blamed that for his horrible performance the next day. So there are tangible results of these hauntings, which I think is quite astounding if you think about it. It's something you don't get that kind of quick action on most of these hauntings, that's for sure. So that's a couple haunted hotels for it. Please check in, enjoy yourself. If you've been in any of these, or you are planning to go in one, drop us a note in the comments, drop us an email, and we'd love to hear about your tale. Or if you've stayed in any hotels or hospitals that have freaked you out, by all means, you are more than welcome to send us your experience at thedarkside@email.com or call our toll-free automated voice hotline, 304-397-0755, and we will talk about your story sometime down the road on the show. We are going to take our last break. This is sort of like the semi-main, because once we get back to this break, we're heading into the main event, my buddy, and we're going to talk about haunted houses, straight up. No more foreplay. We're getting into it. This is Conversations from the Dark Side.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Dark Side.
This Halloween, be the most popular house on the block. While the other neighbors are passing out boring old chocolate bars, dull candies, and bland treats, why don't you give the kids what they really want? The exciting and smooth taste of Newport menthol cigarettes, the most refreshing smoke of all. Newport menthol cigarettes, alive with pleasure.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside.
And we are back with this last segment, Conversations from the Darkside. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed everything so far. I think we're going to end on a high note here. We've got a couple bangers here to take us to the house, because when you talk about stuff that's haunted, sure, you can tack hotels, you can tack hospitals on the list, but the main event's always going to be the house. That's where you get the good stuff, is with the haunted houses. Now, sometimes they turn these houses into other things, but that's generally the good stuff. Now, you mentioned a story years ago, and I want to bring it up now because I think you lived in a haunted house, or at least a house that was jacked up. I didn't mention this beforehand, but I got to put you on the spot. Can you briefly tell the people that your hidden section of your home story? This always creeped me out, and I think a lot of people miss this story.
Yeah. Well, it was our last house, our previous house, and it was a really nice house. And there's an upstairs and a downstairs. And one of the things that I always thought was cool that I never had in a house was a set of like a built-in bookshelf, but shelves that were built into the wall, so they're sunken in a little bit, And so we had lived in this house. I mean, at this point, we had lived in that house for 5 years. Like, we'd been there for a long time. And I came home one day, and my wife met me at the door, and she said, "Come here." And I said, "Okay."
Never good when that happens.
Right. And she led me right to the bedroom, and I thought, oh, boy, hope Guido Fister's not in here ready to whisper things to me.
She'll live up to his name.
Yeah. And so anyway, I went in there, and she said, "I want you to push on those shelves." And I was like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Maybe the shelf, like one of the shelves, the built-in shelf had come loose or something like that. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I want you to push on it." And when I pushed on the shelves, they literally went in. I mean, I'm telling you, it went in like a hidden door from any haunted house movie that you've ever seen. And it led to a really small room, and then off to that, I mean, really small area. Like, think of a large walk-in closet, but that as an area that size. And then there was a second little room off to the side of that. And so as we kind of backtracked back and looked at the house, it was the area that was underneath the stairs. So it was wasted space in the house, and the stairs were to go upstairs were where you went up half the flight, and then there was an area where you turned around and then the other half went all the way up. And so it was all that area, that big square area underneath there. And it was not, when they showed us the house, the realtor never mentioned it. And the like when we looked at the floor plan and stuff, it was not in there. So we think probably the previous owner, who was the original owner, probably had it put in after the fact, right? Like, they just noticed that it was wasted space, and they put this in there. I'm telling you, it is a very, very, very odd experience to find a secret room in the house you've been living in for 5 years.
Yes.
Very
I gotta
odd
ask you,
experience.
when you pushed on the bookcase, now, had your wife been in there or just opened it?
I think she'd already been in there, and I'll tell you a PG-13 joke, a PG joke. But when she opened it, like I said, it's a large walk-in closet, and she said, I said something like, "Wow, this big space in here." And she goes, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And I go, "Okay, 1, 2, 3." And then we both said what we were thinking at the same time. And I said sex dungeon. And she said, "Place to store the Christmas tree." So we were very far off in what we wanted to use our newly found secret room in. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I will tell you this. That's where the Christmas tree lives.
Sorry, Flack.
I did not get my phone. But what I always wanted to do, growing up as a child in the 70s and 80s, And I also got overruled on this, but I wanted to, on the other side of this thing, put a 100% Scooby-Doo style painting and cut the eyeballs out of it. And so that way you could go into the hidden room and then just move the eyes and be able to look out like through a painting like that, you know. Also vetoed. So
that might get you thrown into clink these days for doing that trick.
We'd look out to the living room, you know. I'm telling you, it is a strange experience to find what you thought was a set of bookshelves that opens into an area of your house you did not know existed.
When you go into a new home now, do you check everything thoroughly?
With a hammer. I mean, I go wall to wall, and I just go, Guido, are you here, Guido? give me a gentle whisper in the ear if you're here. It's like I said, it was very strange, you know.
So that's good stuff, and that will lead us into our haunted house discussion. Now I'll tell you something. This was the hardest of the three for me to come up with something I really want to get into, but I think I found a winner. But a couple of my almost lists, we went to a place, in fact, I don't know if Uncle Larry's still in here, but me and him went to a place in Lexington, Kentucky, I think it's called Waveland Mansion, and I remember distinctly being there with him one day, just walking around. This place was deserted, and smelling ladies' perfume, and that's one of the things that you would smell. That's one of the aspects of this area. So that's a pretty well-known ghost area there. And there were a couple other places I thought about, but the one I ended up going with is something I never heard of until this week, and I'm glad I picked it, to be honest with you, because what you've got here is called the Abner Gaines House, or sometimes it's called the Abner Gaines Tavern. There's a reason for that, because they turned it into a tavern at some point. So it's been a little bit of everything. This is on Old Lexington Pike in Walton, Kentucky, which is up near the border of Kentucky and Ohio, near Cincinnati. So if you've ever been up that way, if you've ever been going to Cincinnati to see a Reds game or something, you're going to pass right near Walton, Kentucky. So this house was built in 1814. You know, we always go back to the well in the early 1800s. It's a who's who of ghost action. And this was built. This thing was built in 1813. And this actually was in a place where they didn't have much. They opened it sort of where the post office had been, at what they called the Gaines Crossroads. And Gaines then was the first area that the stagecoach line between Cincinnati, Ohio, and Lexington went to. So this was an area that was pretty important for that little part of Kentucky up there. The Gaines family owned the house for 4 generations and didn't sell it after the Civil War. And eventually, this house was placed on the National Register of Historic Places and in 1980. It's a 7.6 acres, including the house, and the city purchased it in 2006 for $325,000 and have been restoring it since then. Now, pretty simple, right? You're like, okay, that sounds pretty basic stuff. This house has been through the ringer, okay? Oh. I mean, it's been through the ringer. There have been at least 2 suicides and multiple deaths reported in the house. And I want to get into some of these because there was a lot to document in this thing. So for starters, you know, what do you need to have a haunted house? Well, you need some people to probably get killed there. So one of my favorite, this is one of the most awesome things I've ever read. So this house was a big deal. And they used to have, it has a ballroom in it, okay? It's a decent-sized ballroom, and so people would come around all from around the area to throw parties at the ballroom. So July 26, 1899, this was reported in the Boone County Recorder, okay? Boone County Recorder recorded this. This happened, sometime in the mid-1800s, okay? There was a ball one night, and 2 young men, Robert Harrison and William Northcott, were at the ball, Northcutt. And they both had their eyes on one of the young ladies at the ball. You know how this goes, Flack. You can't have 2 normally. Both these guys were popular, good families. They had bucks. The Harrisons were especially prominent because they were related to the former President Harrison. And so, anyway, you had this going down. Both these men are interested in the same woman. So eventually, Harrison became the favorite of the two suitors. And so at this party, Northcutt was so enraged that he wanted vengeance. Now, he knew Harrison was bald, one of our bald brothers. By the way, this is documented. I'm not making this up.
Right.
He knew he was bald, and so he knew he was extremely sensitive about being bald because he always wore a wig, all right? The old 1860s wig. So during the evening, everyone was dancing, and Harrison was dancing with a young lady. Northcutt went up to him and snatched the wig off his head and threw it on the floor.
Oh, don't mess with a man's wig.
And this part here, I read it 3 different places. It was pretty much exactly the same every place I read it. Harrison uttered not a word. He quickly turned on his heel, drew a Spanish dagger, and plunged it to the hilt into the heart of Northcutt, who fell dead as a doornail on the floor. Right in the middle of the ball.
Is it? What is that? FAFO?
So get this, though. I'll tell you what goes a long way. Public sentiment. And they all said, hey, that was dirty pool yanking off a sucker's wig. And they're not wrong, by the way. And so, also, by the way, ex-president, wink, wink. And so, Harrison was never tried and was never arrested for the deed. And although he did live with some sadness for the rest of his life, he never married, and he became a recluse. He died suddenly and alone 2 years later in Covington. So, that's your first major death right here. What would you do if someone did that to you, Flack?
Stab him to the hilt with a knife. 100%.
So that's a pretty wacky occurrence, right? I mean, one house has that. There's your ghost. And there's a guy that said to walk the grounds, right? Oh, no, we're just getting warmed up.
This is the only guy that ever died there.
No, God, no. Let's flash forward
right.
to 1869. So the nearby town of Covington, the mayor, Goodson, came to the house occasionally to play cards. This was the last stop, and it still sort of is. On your way to Cincinnati, it's where you would stop. So he had came to the house. This is March 1869 to play cards. He played cards. This is when the house was a tavern. Played cards, went upstairs after the cards. People heard a gunshot, all right? So they rumble upstairs. Here's what they find. They find Mayor Goodson kneeling at the foot of the bed, okay? They found his gun on the bed, and he had triggered the gun with a cane. So he had committed suicide with a cane, making the gun shoot him.
Wow.
The people speculate that his losses, his heavy financial losses, particularly in oil speculation, decided he was so depressed, he offed himself. So there's your first suicide. Okay. So we're not done yet. Not too long after that, there was a guy walking the tracks right in front of the house because the railroad tracks came through, right? Joe Blackburn. And he was walking the tracks. The Southern Railroad passed by. He didn't hear the whistle somehow. Ran over right in front of the house. Right smack in front of the house. Dead. All right? Here's another one. A few years after
Only
that.
3 people.
A few years after that, Benjamin Runyon stopped overnight at the tavern. The next day, he never showed up. They went in his room, found him cold, stiff, and dead. He'd shot himself during the night. There's your second suicide.
Good Lord.
All right?
Did he use a cane also?
He didn't have to, brother. He used his fingers.
No. Oh, boy.
So now this is a weird one. 1863, okay? There was a toll gate near the house kept by Hugh Ingram, okay? Get this. A few years before this happened, he had been bitten by a mad dog. Okay, it happens. So he had a morbid.
1800s were a rough time.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah,
he had
They say he had a mortal dread of hydrophobia. So I guess fear of water, and he also often talked about committing suicide because his life sucked. And when he was bitten, he was all jacked up. So one night he slipped out of the toll house and right beside the tavern on the railroad bridge. He hung himself just a few yards from the inn. There's another suicide. All right.
So only 6 people died at this place.
I mean, I could go on, but there's a couple more I want to highlight here. 1892, Lizzie Rice. All right. So Lizzie Rice, her father had died tragically. And at the point in 1892, it had been 20 years earlier. Lizzie was always depressed, and she was so depressed. And you have to be real depressed to pull this trick. She ran into the house, or she ran out to there was a outbuilding on the property. She got herself a bunch of coal oil, okay? Coal oil. Covered herself with coal oil and lit herself on fire, as you will. And then, while on fire, ran, arms flailing, into the house and fell over in the front door. And they took her upstairs, and they asked her why she'd done that right before she died, and she said she was tired of living. Here's the kicker. Her father died from being burned alive 20 years earlier.
Oh, no. That's...
Yeah.
This is crazy. But only 9 people died there.
No.
Is that what you're saying? Only 9 people?
It keeps going. I'm going to go over one more here because this is really vital. This is the main ghost of the building. Abner Gaines' young daughter died in there in 1822. And she's buried in a nearby cemetery, and she is the number 1 person that haunts this building. And she's there quite a bit. So you're going to see a lot of kid action in the building. But all these people that I've mentioned have been seen. The guy that hung himself has been seen hanging from the bridge. The guy with the dagger has been seen. There have been people dancing in the ballroom have been seen. So, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff. There was another guy hung out there. They used to have it. So this is back there when slavery was around, and these guys kept slaves. They hung slaves right at the foot of the stairs of the house.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, at least 6 people were hung right there. And then this is unrelated, but I mentioned this earlier, so I'm going to mention it now. One of the things I found out when I was researching this was in September of 1876, there was a prize fight held at the steps of the house, and it was for the world heavyweight title. Amazingly, I mean, with the lineage to current title, there was a 34-round fight in Boone County, Kentucky. It took 1 hour and 14 minutes, and the title changed when Joe Gross defeated Tom Allen for the belt, which I thought was crazy to think that out in the middle of nowhere there was a boxing match. This place has had so much action that it's unbelievable to me. Have you ever heard of something getting that? I mean, death being dealt at an alarming rate at this house.
You know, I feel like I under-delivered when I mentioned a place that had 1 ghost. Because I think if you go to this place, they could give you a bingo card.
Yeah.
And then you could just mark off, be like, yep, I saw the lady on fire, and then I saw that guy that was hanging there, and I saw Suicide King guy, bingo, I got 5 in a row or something like that. Like, this is an insane amount of tragic events that happen all at one place. So, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that when there are places like this that have had so many suicides, so many tragic things like this, do you think that that one begets the next one? Like, do you think there's some sort of negative vibe that's left there? Do you think there's something there in general that makes people depressed, or makes depressed people go there, or makes people depressed when they get there? Why would there be so many things all at this one place, do you think?
You know, I've often pondered that, if you can believe it, that sort of question. I've got 2 thoughts. There's the ghosty thought and then the real thought, okay? My ghosty thought is, yes, absolutely, there could be a sadness or depression that permeates that area for whatever reason and causes all this trouble and turmoil. And it weighs on people, and as more people are killed, it adds to the overall, cloud of doom that hangs over this place. Part of me, the more logical part of me, says, I mean, obviously the place is so old, and that was a rough part of the country. So, and at one point it was a tavern, so you're going to get a lot of weird action, and you got people traveling in and out and stuff. But part of me thinks that some places just, I don't know if it's architectural. I don't know if it's a weird noise in the area that no one can hear. I don't know if it's a weird radiation. I don't know what it is, that it just affects people in a weird way. So it could be something like that too. There's no way of telling. As far as I know, this place is no longer currently available to tour. Like, I don't know if it's going to happen again anytime soon. There's some various tourist videos that you can get online. It has been investigated by some ghost groups. So I don't know if it's back on the docket. I think every place we talked about tonight has had, with maybe the exception of the Fister, has had some sort of ghost hunters or something go down in them. You know, so I mean, that stuff's on the table if that's your cup of tea.
So, well, you said it was a tavern for a while, and I could see why if you went to this place, you might need a drink, because I mean, it's a lot of history at this place. I got a serious question for you, and believe it or not, this question has come up in my life has come up. Would you purchase a house or live in a place if you knew that there had been a suicide that happened in that house or that home?
I think yes, and I'll say that I've got a reason for saying it. I think if you're in like the UK or in Europe, and the houses have been around for 1,000 years, you know, you don't even have an option. And almost certainly, I mean, some of those places are so ancient that you're going to absolutely have had bad stuff that went down. And I sort of feel like if they could pull it off, I could do it too. And maybe you could go in there and break the streak or whatever. But I would do it. Now, if there was a gruesome murder that made national news, that would be a little bit different. But I think just a suicide could probably pull it off. What about you?
I always said it would not bother me, but my wife said hard no. And there was I was looking at houses one time when we were house shopping when we'd first moved back to this town, and we were looking for houses. And let me tell you, if you are ever looking for houses, don't take your buddy who is a firefighter and part-time EMT with you, because he knows every bad thing that's happened in every single house in your town, and he will point them out to you.
Oh gosh.
And so
that would be tough for him too, you know. So
there was a house that was for sale, and it was on like 5 acres, and it was relatively, and it was cheaper than other houses we were looking at, and it just looked like a cool place, you know. It was kind of like a early 70s kind of house, kind of had that vibe. And my buddy said it's one of those houses that has the exposed rafters in the living room. And I said, oh, that's cool. And he said, yeah. And he said, and someone hung themselves from one of the rafters one time.
Oh man.
And so he didn't go there, you know, for that, but he knew the story, right? And so I mean, I was like, well, that's a bad thing that happened to this place, but at the end of the day, it's just a house. It's just a thing, you know. And I mean, the guy's not still there, right? It was a long time ago. But my wife was like, not a chance. She said, too negative energy, can't possibly do it. So, hey, if you're watching this real quick on YouTube, Aaron, I'm going to have you shout out that the phone number and the email address, because I'd like to hear from people and see what they have to say. Maybe not just a suicide, but would you live in a house, where you knew that someone, I mean, like there was a modern story that you knew someone had died, maybe been murdered or something in that house, or if it's one of these houses we've talked about that's rumored to be haunted, could you live in one of those places? So Aaron, if you could shout out that phone number and that email address again, we'd love to get your feedback on that.
Absolutely. So you can call our automated line 304-397-0755. That's 304-397-0755. Toll-free call. You can also, by the way, that's a automated line, so you're not going to get a hold of a human. You can leave a voicemail or text, and you can also talk to us at The Dark Side at email.com. That's The Dark Side, all one word, at email.com. And if you have an experience or a thought we'll be happy to read them or even play them on the show if it's something. If you have an encounter, a story, if you lived in a haunted house, if you found a hidden compartment in your house, if someone set themselves on fire and ran to the front door, we wouldn't know about it. We wouldn't be first in line. So feel free to contact us in any of those ways. Flack, you had an interesting haunted house turn up here. What do you got for us this time around?
Well, so this is listed as a haunted house. This one is also in Oklahoma. And I'm going to tell you, if you were to look at a map, an overhead map, and draw a line from my house to this house, it's about 5 miles away.
Oh.
This house is not far from me. I mentioned this to my wife earlier, and this house is now, it's part of the Historical Society, and they have events there. And my wife said, that's the house our daughter went to a birthday party to, like last month. So my daughter's been in this house. I've never been in this house, but I just found out today that my daughter has been here, and it is known as the Overholser Mansion here in Oklahoma City, which I live relatively close to Lake Overholser, which is named for the people who lived in this mansion. It is the former home of Henry and Anna Ione Overholser. So that's how the lake
Is
got
that
its
lake?
name.
Is that the one where you film your van stuff at?
A lot of it has been filmed at Lake Overholser.
Wow, now I know.
Right, and I mean the address is well known, and so yeah, I mean, next time I'm over there, like I may go over there tomorrow, I'm going to send you a selfie of me standing in front of this haunted mansion.
I love it.
I've seen this house before, and just like all the other houses that you've shown pictures of, we've talked about, it falls into that same thing. Like all creepy looking houses aren't haunted, but this is supposedly a haunted house, and it's creepy looking. It's right there on the front of the lake. So again, this is the former house of Henry and Anna Ione Overholser. It is again a big Victorian style house. I guess a lot of these old houses, you know, are like that kind of Victorian style. You know, again, like we said, like not a lot of modern duplexes aren't haunted for some reason. Now, because it is this old Victorian house, it has been turned into a museum for Oklahoma Historical Society. And when they did that, obviously they had this caregiver who maintained the property. Her name is Kathy Dixon. And so Kathy Dixon is or was the curator of the Overholser Mansion. And she said she worked there for a long time and never had any paranormal experiences whatsoever. No problems at all. She cleaned the place. She kept track of all the artifacts and stuff. No problems. But in the, I believe the late 60s or maybe very early 70s, they were retrofitting the house for air conditioning. And so they took everything that was stored in all the closets that had been there for, 100 years, and they emptied out all the closets and they put all this stuff somewhere else, and they ran ductwork up through the closets. And that night, so this is a strange story, that night, Kathy had a dream about a woman walking through the house wearing a Victorian ball gown who looked very upset, and the woman was walking right towards her. Okay. And she woke up. She saw this person in her dream and woke up. So not long after that, as they were going through these artifacts that they had pulled out of the closet, she found a photo, and it was the person she had seen in her dream. She said, I recognized her immediately. And then when she went through the other stuff, she realized that this was the daughter of Henry and Anna Ione Overholser. So she had literally seen the daughter and someone that she had recognized in a photograph. Like she was able to pick this lady out of a lineup, right? And so that's apparently when the paranormal activity started in Overholser Mansion. Now, as a lot, there was a lot of activity being reported, like again, all the traditional stuff, like noises and doors and all those sorts of things, right? And a visitor, and it's not, they didn't say who this visitor was, but there was a random visitor who came to the museum and pulled Kathy aside and said, Anna wants you to return her Bible. That's all she said. That's all the visitor said. Okay. And Kathy Dixon said she had no idea what the person was talking about, but when they started going through all the things that they had removed from the closets, they found the family Bible had been taken out and put in this pile of stuff that they had been storing somewhere else.
Holy
and so
moly.
she said she immediately took this Bible and put it back in the closet, the same closet where they had retrieved it from. So there has been multiple other documented cases by this woman. And by the way, Kathy Dixon has said on the record, she said, I don't believe in ghosts. She said, I don't believe in paranormal stuff. I've never had any experiences like that. She said, I'm just telling you what I experienced while I was the curator working and staying in this mansion. But she went to work during this period one time, and it was a Tuesday early in the afternoon. It was around 2:00, and she went to work, and as she was going through the house, she heard voices. Like she heard soft people talking, and then it just sounded almost like people were having a party or something. And she said it was coming from the music room. And so when she went down to the music room, it wasn't coming from the music room. It was coming from the parlor. So she went to the parlor, and then it sounded like it was coming from the music room. So she could never exactly determine where these voices and this talking was happening. But later, when they were doing more research about the mansion, they were finding out different things as they were setting up, tours and things like that. And it found out that, she had actually made this little comment to Anna. She said, well, Anna, I guess your friends came to visit or something like that. Like just kind of this, played off this little joke, right? But later on, what she found out as they were doing more research about this place is that Anna actually belonged to a bridge club. And she would host bridge games at the mansion. And they were always in one of those two rooms. And they were always at 2 p.m., which is when she heard these voices. So, I think what gives a little bit of credence to this lady's stories is that multiple times she experienced things and then found out the story behind it, right? So it's not like where you say, hey, guess what? This house is haunted. And then you go stay there and you go, whoa, I felt like there was a ghost there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like she had specific stories, like someone saying, Anna wants her Bible back, and then going through and realizing that they had, and again, that person should have had no knowledge at all of what had happened, would have been cleaned out of the closets or whatever. But then she found that the Bible had been moved and she returned the Bible, finding out, hearing these voices and hearing them exactly at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and then finding out later that Anna had bridge parties at 2 p.m. in those rooms, So that, I always thought that adds a little bit of credence, like I said, to
because you
this
can't
lady's
subconsciously add the two together if you don't know about it. That's what makes it more
Right.
makes it more mysterious.
Sure, and then again, having a person who's a museum curator, you would think, like this lady's not interested in being on paranormal TV shows. She's not a ghost hunter. She doesn't want any part of it. And she'll tell you, like I said, she has said, I don't believe in any of that stuff, but this is what I experienced, So she's not out there trying to make a dime off of these stories. She's not out there trying to play up, and they don't do ghost tours here. They don't do anything like that. So it's not really, they're not trying to capitalize on those stories. So, this lady, it's like a librarian telling you a story. Like she comes off as very, very believable in regards to her experiences. So I will 100% this weekend, I will drive over there and I'm going to send you a picture of this house because, like I said, there aren't that many large old houses around the lake. So it's a well-known area.
It's a beautiful home. Just from if you're watching. If you're watching along with us, for those on the radio, it's a beautiful, classic, Victorian era home. It's just gorgeous. You could tell it's been well maintained. You could tell it's not something they just let any schmuck in. The gardens look beautiful. I mean, all the work on the sides and stuff. It's a gorgeous. Of all the stuff we looked at tonight, this is just quite a lovely home. It's amazing that. Well, I can see why ghosts wouldn't want to leave. Let's put it that way, because it's such a nice place. And sometimes, I guess, of course, my house was full of like 50 million horrible murders and suicides. But I think it's a nice way to go out with the thought that maybe sometimes the ghosts are just like, it's a pretty good house. I'm just going to hang around here. I like it, and that's okay.
I would like to think that when I die, that whatever we are, our spirits, our souls, whatever, would pass on to some other place, right? But on the other hand, like, lakefront property is frickin' expensive, and I'm not giving that up.
Yeah.
If I live in a giant Victorian house right there on the lake, I'm gonna stick around for as long as I can.
I love it. It's a lovely place. Now, did you say you had been inside or have not?
I've not been in there. My daughter's been there, but I mean, I'm gonna find out. Like, I mean, maybe they still have a bridge club that goes there. I don't know how to play bridge, but I mean, maybe I'll learn if that'll get me inside.
I'd rather have a ghost that plays bridge than hangs from the bottom of one, if you know what I mean.
Amen, brother.
And so that's a good place to take us out this week. Another one in the books here. I really enjoyed this, Flack. Before we move along and take this to the house, tell everybody where they can hear more Rob Flack O'Hara.
Hey, just go over to robohara.com/links, and you can find links to social media stuff. You'll find links to my podcast website on there. We've got a new episode today, actually, of You Don't Know Flack, where I go through stories, experiences that I've had from visiting all 50 states.
Yeah, I heard the first part of that. It was quite good. I enjoyed it.
You know what? Maybe I'll have to redo that trip someday and visit haunted places in all 50 states.
You have to do it in order of most haunted to least, and go work your way down.
Based on that map, right?
Looks like you're
New
going.
York, here I come.
Looks like you're going to the Yukon, my friend. Good luck up there.
Yeah, but then I'll just be zooming back and forth all the time.
That's a tough van. So that's great.
Yeah,
I recommend all of Flack's stuff. It's always great. And please dig deep in his back catalog. Of course, you can find myself, my co-conspirators, John Bodovkar and the Brent. We do retro gaming content on this channel. If you're catching this show, it's not our usual fare, but it is something we do every October, and we've got a couple more shows to go this year. So I hope you're enjoying these, and that will put it to bed. So good luck. I hope wherever you're at, if it's haunted, the ghosts are there for leisure purposes. If not, good luck, pal. You're on your own. We'll talk to you next week. Same bat time, same back channel. Please, have a good week. We'll be seeing you.
You have just experienced Conversations from the Darkside. Until next week, try to enjoy the daylight.